William T. Hornaday was born on December 1st, 1854 in Plainfield, Indiana. He showed an early interest in natural history, which led him to pursue education in this field. He attended Oskaloosa College in Iowa and later Iowa State College in Ames, Iowa. After completing his studies, Hornaday became associated with Ward's National Science Foundation in Rochester, New York in 1873. This association marked the beginning of his career in natural history and conservation. In 1874, he embarked on his first collecting expeditions for Ward's to the Bahamas, Cuba, and Florida. This expedition was followed by several others, including a significant 6-month journey to the West Indies and South America in 1876, and a 2-year exploration and collecting tour in the jungles of Ceylon, Malaya, and Borneo. In 1882, Hornaday's expertise in taxidermy led him to his appointment as the chief taxidermist of the United States National Museum, now part of the Smithsonian Institution. His work there was groundbreaking, especially in the presentation of animals within naturalistic settings rather than as static displays. This was a significant advancement in the field of taxidermy and museum displays at the time. His tenure at the museum was also notable for his involvement in the establishment of a living animals department, which eventually led to the founding of the National Zoological Park in Washington, D.C. Hornaday's early career was crucial in developing his perspective on conservation. His experience and reputation established during this period eventually led him to become the first director of the New York Zoological Garden, now known as the Bronx Zoo, in 1896, a position he held for 30 years. Under his leadership, the Bronx Zoo became a prominent institution in the United States, emphasizing the conservation of native wildlife and innovative approaches to zookeeping. His work during these years reflected a deep commitment to wildlife conservation, both in captivity and in the wild, and set a new standard for zoological parks and animal conservation efforts worldwide. One of Hornaday's most notable achievements was his trailblazing work in saving the American bison from extinction. In 1886, he led an expedition to Montana under the auspices of the Smithsonian Institution to collect bison specimens, realizing the imminent danger that the species faced. This highlighted the drastic decline in bison populations, once numbering in the tens of millions, which had fallen to fewer than 1,000 by 1893. Hornaday's findings were published in his report, The Extermination of the American Bison, in 1889, a seminal work that generated public support for bison conservation. His advocacy in this area led to the founding of the American Bison Society in 1905, with Hornaday as its president and Theodore Roosevelt as the honorary president. This society played a crucial role in establishing wildlife preserves and sourcing bison to repopulate these areas. By 1929, the bison population had grown to over 3,000, a testament to the effectiveness of Hornaday's efforts. In addition to his work with bison, Hornaday was a prolific author, having published almost 24 books and numerous articles on wildlife conservation. His 1913 book, Our Vanishing Wildlife, Its Extermination and Preservation, was particularly influential. Hornaday's writing not only educated the public about the importance of preserving wildlife, but also influenced legislative actions for wildlife protection. His establishment of the Permanent Wildlife Protection Fund in 1913 further underscored his commitment to the cause, providing a platform for his extensive lobbying for wildlife protection laws at both state and federal levels. William T. Hornaday's influence on the scouting movement, particularly the Boy Scouts of America, otherwise known as BSA, was significant and lasting. In 1914, through the Permanent Wildlife Protection Fund, which he had founded, Hornaday initiated the Wildlife Protection Medal. This medal was awarded to scouts who actively contributed to wildlife conservation through various means, such as halting animal harm, securing state wildlife legislation, restocking native wildlife in depopulated areas, or creating new game preserves. The criteria for this award were stringent, and it took 6 years after the program's inception for the first medal to be awarded in 1920. This medal was later renamed in Hornaday's honor after his death in 1937, and it continues to be an esteemed recognition within the BSA for significant contributions to conservation and ecology. Hornaday's advocacy for wildlife protection resonated deeply with the ethos of the Boy Scouts, encouraging a generation of young people to actively engage in conservation conservation efforts. His approach to conservation was holistic, encompassing not just the protection of species, but also the restoration of their habitats. Hornaday's death in 1937 marked the end of a remarkable life dedicated to wildlife conservation. He passed away in Stamford, Connecticut, and was laid to rest at Putnam Cemetery in Greenwich, Connecticut. A year after his passing, in recognition of his substantial contributions to conservation, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt suggested that a peak in Yellowstone National Park be named Mount Hornaday. This gesture was a fitting tribute to Hornaday's lasting impact on American wildlife conservation. Additionally, a street in the Bronx was named Hornaday Place, further commemorating his legacy. In contemplating the remarkable life of William T. Hornaday, we are vividly reminded that the preservation of our natural world is not just a historical concern, but an ongoing, urgent responsibility. Hornaday's life was a testament to the belief that every individual can significantly impact conservation. His relentless efforts to protect and nurture wildlife echo in the thriving habitats and species he saved. This legacy is not just a chapter in history, it resonates in the thriving forests, the majestic bison herds, and the countless individuals he inspired to value and protect our national heritage. As we honor Hornaday's memory, let's embrace his mission as our own, recognizing that conservation is a collective duty calling for our active engagement. Whether through local environmental incentives, educating others, or supporting global conservation efforts, each of us has the capacity to make a difference. By following in Hornaday's footsteps, we not only pay tribute to a great conservationist, but also contribute to a vital, enduring cause, the preservation of our planet for the awe and wonder of generations to come. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Aptitude Outdoors podcast. We are continuing our journey into the history of wildlife conservation here in North America. I hope you learned something today, and I'll be back soon with another episode.